Mumbai is special for many reasons. Its local trains, its dabbawalas, its never give up spirit, and also because right in the heart of this bustling city with one of the highest population densities in the world is a full-fledged national park. Not just another garden, but a national park with more than 1,300 species of plants, hundreds of species of birds and butterflies, and of course, leopards. It's home to the lakes that provide Mumbai's drinking water, and it's rightly called Mumbai's last green lung. Now imagine someone quietly re-looking at its boundaries, turning the protective buffer into zones where malls, resorts, commercial complexes, and new housing can legally rise. That is exactly what is happening right now. We are talking about Sanjay Gandhi National Park. And last month, the BMC released a draft zonal master plan for an eco-sensitive zone around it. This plan decides what can and cannot be built in a 58 square kilometer ring around this forest. On paper, it sounds protective, but is it really so? I'm your host Lavanya, and in this episode of The Climate Brief, we are breaking down what this plan actually says and why some citizens are raising an alarm. Let's first understand what is at stake here. The Sanjay Gandhi National Park is not just another garden or picnic spot. It's a full-fledged national park situated right in the heart of Mumbai, stretching from Borivali to Thane and Dahisar to Powai. More than 1,300 species of flowering plants are found in the southern mixed deciduous forest, including the karvi, a widespread shrub known for its flamboyant blooms once every 7 years. Bird watchers have recorded more than 250 bird species, including the paradise flycatcher and the elusive trogon, and many species of kingfishers and woodpeckers. The world of reptiles is also well represented by the crocodiles in Tulsi Lake, pythons, cobras, and Russell's vipers, amongst others. And then, of course, there are the much talked about leopards, silently moving between the hills, the lakes, the trees, and the padas. This forest is also home to Mumbai's critical water sources, the Vihar and Tulsi lakes. The hills and soil are sponges that absorb rainwater, and the trees cool down the hot and humid city. But this isn't some empty wilderness. It's home to Adivasi communities, living across several dozen padas around the park. So yes, the Sanjay Gandhi National Park, with all its hills, its lakes, trees, birds, animals, and people, is truly Mumbai's last green lung. And now we are drawing zoning lines around it. To get this clearly, we have to quickly rewind to 2016. Back in 2016, the Environment Ministry issued a notification for SGNP's eco-sensitive zone, basically a protective ring around the park, ranging from 100 meters to 4 kilometers, depending on how built up each side already was, covering a total area of 59.456 square kilometers. On paper, the idea is simple. Protect the forest from being slowly squeezed. 9 years later, Mumbai finally came up with the draft zonal master plan for this eco-sensitive zone. So what does this plan say? The plan segregates the eco-sensitive zone into 3 main zones. Zone 1, the settlement zone. This zone includes already existing and proposed areas, such as residential, commercial, institutional, and industrial sites. Here, full development potential is allowed. These are areas that have been classified as less vulnerable. Zone 2, the regulated development zone. This contains areas that are more vulnerable than the settlement zone, but most of Zone 1 activities are allowed, unless they are specifically banned. So it still allows a wide range of activities, including ecotourism and the development of lodges, restaurants, and canteens, social infrastructure like schools, colleges, hospitals, clinics, police stations, and religious places, agriculture and agri-based development, roads, bridges, telecom towers, renewable energy projects, and water supply systems. Even major transport projects like highways or railways can be brought in with special environmental and wildlife mitigation approval. Zone 3, the ecologically fragile zone. These are areas that contain features whose preservation is of utmost importance from an ecological point of view. Generally, no development or construction activities are permitted in this zone. Only essential, conservation-related or community activities are permitted under strict oversight. The ecologically sensitive zone was intended to be a buffer around that park that would bring enhanced protection. But in the draft zonal master plan, environmentalists are seeing the opposite. A license to build, to bring in commercial development and displace the communities that have actually been the park's stewards for generations. Here are the biggest concerns that environmentalists and activists have pointed out in the proposed plan. Number 1. Subzoning is flawed and opens the area to environmental damage. The plan creates subzones, ESZ1 and ESZ2, that open up large forest areas for real estate development, completely defeating the purpose of a buffer zone meant to protect the national park. A lot of the vulnerability mapping relies on remote sensing and existing development. So places near built-up areas automatically look less fragile on the map. That is how crucial patches like RA, a key catchment, get slotted into Zone 1 or Zone 2. Number 2, wildlife corridors are threatened. The plan fails to provide any strategy to protect and restore crucial wildlife corridors like the Tungareshwar SGNP corridor, which are already fragmented by roads. Number 3, the Adivasi communities are at risk. The draft counts just 43 padas, with 14 inside BMC's ESZ area. Activists say this is a serious undercount. Many traditional padas are called slums. This matters because under the Forest Rights Act, Adivasi settlements like padas have special protections. But slums are temporary and illegal. Once they are labelled encroachments in ESZ2, they can be removed for regulated development. The plan talks about rehabilitation sites, including a roughly 90-acre plot near Marol Maroshi. These communities will be moved into vertical buildings far from the forest, cut off from their land, their culture, their livelihoods. That's not rehabilitation, that is displacement. Number 4, and finally, language and access. The draft is over 350 pages long, published only in English. Objection window? Just 30 days. Mumbai is largely Marathi speaking. Most tribal padas may not be familiar with English. The people most affected by the plan will not be able to even read that document. Forget about filing a detailed objection. Filing an objection is not easy either. For instance, one citizen who resides in Thane had to travel for around 1.5 hours to BMC in South Mumbai to file his objection. This is not the first time Mumbai has had to fight for its forests. In 2014, the Metro 3 car shed was first proposed inside of RA. A small group of citizens started digging. Site visits, tree counts, biodiversity walks, RTIs, public hearings, a loose group slowly took shape. Save RA became a city-wide phrase. Then came October 2019. That night, almost 2,000 trees fell inside RA in just a few hours. Hundreds rushed to the site. People were detained, videos went viral, and that is when the RA movement exploded into national news. The protests pushed the Supreme Court to pause the tree felling. One government later promised to move the car shed out of RA and declare it as a forest area. The next government brought it back. The car shed was finally built in RA. This fight didn't end in a win, but it taught us some lessons. How to read dense project reports, how to file objections properly, how to make noise without losing focus. That same muscle memory is back now. Only this time, the battlefield is much larger. It's not just RA, it's the entire eco-sensitive zone around Sanjay Gandhi National Park. So where does this fight stand now? Citizen groups, environmentalists, and Adivasi organizations have filed detailed objections. They call the draft a real estate plan dressed up in green language. Their demands are sharp and clear. First, translate the draft fully into Marathi so local communities can actually read it. Second, extend the objection period. Third, do serious ground-level surveys, not just satellite mapping. Count real trees, map real streams, document wildlife movement and tribal settlements properly. Fourth, rezone critical areas like RA into ESZ3. the most protected category. Public hearings were held from November 20th to 28th, 2025 at the BMC head office in Fort. If you live in Mumbai, this might feel distant at first. A Borivali side ka issue. But SGNP does not work like that. Its water doesn't ask for your PIN code. Its mangrove-driven flood protection doesn't stop at Andheri. Its cooling effect doesn't check whether you live in Mulund or Powai. If you live in Mumbai, SGNP is already saving your life. The question is, will you return the favor? I'm Lavanya and this is The Climate Brief. Subscribe to The Climate Brief for more stories about cities, climate and the people trying to hold the line.